there's a huge disconnect of like, I want to meet women, I want to have a relationship, I want to have sex. A lot of young men are wanting these things, but they go to quick fixes. And this is like an epidemic in the world today of men just like turning to porn instead of actually going out there and trying to meet people and socialize. Men turn into video games and distractions, of maybe alcohol, weed, video games, and just staying at home, in the comfort zone rather than going out. And if they really want to date, they usually go to, the swiping on the apps, which is also again like very superficial. It can work for some, but a lot of guys, what I see in my work, they don't get matches. And what happens with all these things combined is that they get frustrated and they feel like it's not working for me, right? And I don't know what to do. So they have all these issues with confidence or, anxiety of approaching or even being social. They just stay at home. That's a huge commonality and issue I see, especially today.
I will agree because I see a lot of men who experience dating rage and they get very frustrated very quickly and it lasts for so long. And I think many of it is because, to your point, when you're so used to an online interaction, right? Like I can talk through my video game, I can talk through my thumbs because you're swiping left or right. It kind of hampers you when you have to go out there and actually talk to a female and understand what you can offer her to make her interested in you. Do you find sometimes that that is a disconnect where with between men and women, where men will approach women like they're speaking to other men instead of actually speaking to women for what they are, actually women?
I find that more in relationship itself and like maintaining polarity within a relationship. Yes, they might start to treat them, more like the masculine rather than like upholding the masculine pole themselves so that woman can just relax into her femininity. In the beginning, in the dating, I just find it's more anxiety and not knowing what to say that kinds of like that makes it all confusing or they feel lost. Like, what am I going to say next? I'm running out of things to say, or I don't know how to, keep this going. So it's maybe not more masculine, but more as a friend, like, oh, I'm treating her as a friend and I'm trying to be a nice guy and please her rather than of just like owning that, oh, I am attracted to this person and I'm going to communicate that, and that is scary for a lot of men because we don't want to see as being canceled in this cancel culture, right? And we don't want to cross any boundaries and we want to be gentlemen. So it's very confusing of like, how am I being a gentleman but also showing that, hey, I'm a man, you're a woman, and I can convey that I'm attracted to you without being a sleazebag or a creep, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Imagine being canceled for holding the door for a lady, right?
right.
She probably look at you like, well, you're only holding the door for me so you can look at my ass as I walk by you, or something along those lines. And you raise a good point because it can be very true where it's like if I am I if I'm going to be too masculine, is that toxic? If I'm going to be too forward, is that aggressive? If I'm going to be too honest, is that harassment? Like it seems that like men have to understand where that line is, but I think a lot of times we miss that line is because we don't look for it. We just say, okay, you know what? I saw on the internet one day that I have to be making $100,000, I have to be 6 foot tall, I have to be packing 6 inches, and every girl will love me. And if they don't, I'm going to take the Mike Tyson approach, right? And I'll quote and say that, well, I'm going to make you love me,
Right.
right? Like, how can we maybe educate men to say that being masculine isn't wrong, it isn't bad, but maybe your approach is what is missing.
Exactly. I 100% agree. We see today there's so many, so-called, you know, men's coaches and they're trying to teach young men on how to be a man. And they're teaching all this macho and bravado, and it's not really real to these guys. They're just listening to other people's opinions and trying to implement them in their own life, even if it's not resonating with who they are. And that is the disconnect. They're trying to just, manufacture what you're supposed to be like according to other male teachers. So that is a huge issue. What I am doing is like I'm taking away all of that. Like, don't listen to what other people say, but trying to find your own inner authentic expression. So it's all about how can you date? How can you lead a relationship from an authentic place, authentic masculinity, right? And that is not to go over the top and dominate, but it's also not to be a people pleaser and a doormat. So it's somewhere in between because both is an aspect of the shadow masculine. One is trying to be aggressive and dominate because you feel insecure. And another one is to surrender and not taking, the leap of faith and just going after it because you feel fear, right? So both is not in the like equilibrium of the mature masculine, right? So we have to find that authentic expression and operate from there. And when we find that, we know how to be, displaying sexual interest without being overtly aggressive or macho. And that is a sweet spot.